This is William Navarro of Gilas Pilipinas, and you're watching LoDEE Sports TV.
I did know that there would be scheduling conflicts. I didn't know that it was not a decision that I was in favor of. I didn't want to leave the program. I received a text message I'm very grateful for from Boss Al last night.
What is up mga LoDEE? Credits to Power and Play for this interview. Dito nga ay nagsalita na mismo si Coach Baldwin tungkol sa mga nangyari noong mga nakalipas na buwan. Totoo nga ba na ang exodus ng mga players ang dahilan ng pagkakaalis niya sa Gilas program? At totoo nga ba na ayaw nitong mag-coach at nais lamang nitong mag-focus sa Ateneo dahil na rin sa issue ng players availability noon sa Gilas Pilipinas? Bukas nga ba ito sa ngayon na tulungan ng Gilas Pilipinas in any capacity? At willing nga ba itong makatrabaho si Coach Chot? At ito ang mga pag-uusapan natin ngayon mga LoDEE. Pero bago yun, please like this video at mag-subscribe. Sa Gilas program ni Coach Tab ay ilan na nga sa mga manlalaro nito ang nagtungo sa ibang bansa upang maglaro ng professional basketball. Kabilang na nga rito sina Dwight Ramos ng Livenga Hokkaido, Kobe Paras ng Altira Chiba, Jordan Heading ng Nagasaki Velka, Justin Baltasar ng Hiroshima Dragonflies, RJ Abarientos ng Ulsan Mobis, SJ Belangel ng Daegu Kogas Pegasus, at syempre si Will Navarro ng Seoul Thunders. At kung hindi pa nga napigilan ay kasama na rin siguro sa listahan na ito sina Matt Nieto, Alin Bolanadi at Ray Suerte. Totoo nga ba na ang exodus ng mga players ang dahilan ng pagkakaalis niya sa Gilas program? At heto nga ang sagot ni Coach Baldwin ukol dyan.
That's absolute nonsense. I don't want those players to leave the Gilas program. As far as their decision about their future, I want players to have options, and I want them to be free to exercise their options. It is not in my best interest. It is not in, obviously, the PBA's best interest that players go overseas. But, you know, what is my role as the Ateneo head coach? My role, and as an educator in the University of Ateneo, my role is to help my players achieve their full potential so they can go out and get the best jobs for themselves that they want. And I think that's the role of, I don't want to compare myself to a professor, but if I were a professor at Ateneo and I was in the music school or the engineering school or the law school, my job would be to educate my students to the best of their potential so that they can go into the marketplace and secure the best positions for themselves. My job is not to act as an agent for any particular facet of the industry that they're going into, and I don't do that in any way, shape, or form.
All right.
All I do is try to educate my players, and then if they come to me for advice about their future, I'll offer that, but that's between me and the player. But in no way am I acting on behalf of any entity outside of Ateneo University.
Sana ay maintindihan din ito ng Senado. Give our players the options at bigyan ng kalayaan na makapili ng best option para sa kanila at kanilang pamilya. Hindi yung plano na pigilan at mag-implement ng criteria na pabor lamang sa iisang liga. Sa sagot na ito ni Coach Baldwin ay maliwanag na wala itong kinalaman sa Exodus. Tanging advices lamang ang binibigay nito, which I believe ay tama naman bilang isang head coach. Syempre, you want the best for your players. Makapunta naman tayo sa sunod na topic. Totoo nga ba na ayaw nitong mag-coach at nais nitong mag-focus sa Ateneo dahil na rin sa issue ng players availability noon sa Gilas Pilipinas?
The conflict on schedule between Ateneo and the national team and even the PBA. Didn't you know this, Coach, even before you accepted the job, that this was something that would happen, and obviously people were wondering why it had to be a reason for your leaving?
I did know that there would be scheduling conflicts. I didn't know that player availability would always be as tough as it was going to be coming into that window, and I don't think I carefully planned my own conflict of interest between Ateneo and Gilas. I knew that it would exist, but you have to remember we were coming out of the pandemic, and the surety around the UAAP season didn't exist. We didn't know way back in 2021 that there was going to be a season 84, I guess it was, in February. When we knew that, that's when it became very acute that there was going to be, you know, conflicts, and then the player availability. The UAAP players wouldn't be available. The PBA players, obviously, en masse, wouldn't be available from all of the teams. But we knew that the PBA players would be available. We just didn't know how many or which ones. And then you had the issue surrounding the Gilas contracted players whose contracts were going to be ending and whether they were going to be renewed. So there was just a lot of doubt at that time. But I think more than anything involving player availability was the fact that I had a contract to be the Ateneo basketball coach, and I had a contract to be the Gilas program director, and those two things were not in conflict. Coming into the February window, trying to coach both teams was going to be in conflict. And then when it became reality that most of the players that would be available would be coming from the PBA and would be coming primarily from the MVP group of PBA teams, it just made sense to me, and that's why I had the discussion and the meeting with Boss MVP.
Yeah, right.
And I suggested that to him. This was not his suggestion. This was mine. And it was simply my solution to a sticky situation. And MVP thought it was a good idea.
All right.
And so that's how the meeting ended. He liked the idea, and he said, okay, let me talk to Chot, see if that's going to fly on that end of things. And that's how we left the meeting.
Kung pagbabasehan ng contract ay si Coach Tab Baldwin ay head coach ng Ateneo, habang sa Gilas naman ay program director. Ang magiging conflict lamang ay kung mag-head coach ito ng both Gilas at Ateneo. Kaya naman isinadjust nito na tama lamang nakuhanin si Coach Chot bilang head coach for that February window. Dahil na rin PBA players nga ang available. Ngunit sa kasamaang palad ay ang naging desisyon ay tuluyan ng maalis si Coach Tab sa Gilas program at ibinigay na rin tuluyan ang program director role kay Coach Chot Reyes. Sa desisyon na ito ay pabor nga ba si Coach Tab?
It was not a decision that I was in favor of. I didn't want to leave the program. However, I did accept it because that's what you do when you're an employee. You know, when the bosses sit in front of you and say,
Right.
for these reasons, and they didn't just, you know, dismiss me. They gave me their reasons. It's not up to me to like them or not. They're the bosses.
Right.
They gave me their reasons, and I accepted their reasons. And I understood them. You know, I understood that they didn't want to chop and change the coaching position, which had been my stance on it. They wanted stability there. And in terms of the program director, as I said in the interview, they just didn't see that it made a lot of sense to have a coach like Chot, who is very capable of running a program. He's done it in the past. To have somebody like me sitting above him, making decisions that he would have to obviously go out and implement. They thought that Chot was capable of doing that, and for the sake of stability in the program, that was their decision. And so, yes, I accepted that, and you know, I decided to move forward. I still work for MVP as the coach of Ateneo. I also work for Ateneo University, of course, and that was my job. And you know, I mean, I was raised by my father to keep my mouth shut and do my job. So that's what I did, and you know, that's kind of brought us to here.
Maliwanag na maliwanag, ayaw umalis ni Coach Tab sa programa. Ayun nga lamang ay may dahilan ng SBP kaya sila nag-arrive sa ganong desisyon. At ito, isa sa mga nagustuhan kong tanong ni Comenoli Iyala.
Back Tab, and you've said it already in your interview. Let's forget that. You're appealing that, you know, that should not be used anymore. But I think people can actually use that, because bring back tab could also mean you're helping the Gilas program. Are you willing to help and go back to assist Coach Chot, the SBP, basketball in general, to make her participation in the FIBA World Cup a success?
Always have been. You know, there's no prevarication on my part for that, and Boss MVP knows that.
Bilang isang program director ay responsibilidad mo na bumuo ng isang programa kung saan ay maging sustainable. Kumuha ng mga best available talents, mapa-players man yan or coaching staff na magdadala sa iyo sa tagumpay. Ayon sa interview na ito, ay maliwanag ang mensahe ni Coach Tab na nais nitong tumulong sa Gilas program para maging maganda ang kampanya sa World Cup. Kung nais ng SPP at ni Coach Chot ng Unity, ay magandang simulan ng pagtatalaga kay Coach Tab Baldwin bilang Gilas head coach at manatili na lamang si Coach Chot as program director. Ito matagal ko na talagang sinasabi mga LoDEE. As a program director ay nakita naman natin na maganda ang mga nangyari. Ang daming players na naging available para sa Gilas Pilipinas. Piruin mo SMC at MVP players na pinagpipilian ngayon na noon ay parang pangarap lamang. Nakakuha si Jordan Clarkson na maglaro sa Gilas. Wala na rin nata akong naririnig na inuubo kaya hindi available sa Gilas. Ang masasabi ko lang, Coach Chot, you've done a great job as a program director. At para makakumpleto na yung papuri sa'yo, Coach Chot, ay ibalik mo na si Coach Tab bilang head coach ng Gilas Pilipinas.
I received a text message I'm very grateful for from Boss Al last night. So obviously, you know, I don't want to call it the healing process, but you know, obviously the process of communication is underway. And I think this should totally be Chot's decision. Nobody else's. If I was in Chot's shoes, you know, I wouldn't want anybody telling me who I should have on my staff and who I should be assembling. And Chot has to make that decision not just based on am I a good coach? He has to make that decision, if he's even thinking about that decision, based on would my inclusion be a positive for the program and the team? And that is a complex question and a complex answer.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us should just think of that and look at it very simply as would Coach Tab's coaching knowledge and experience be a benefit to the team? It's much, much more than that.
All right.
So I don't want to impose any pressure on Chot, but from my position, if I can help, and I'm trying to help now, and if this is the sum total of the help that I can give, that's fine.
Right.
That's fine.
Well,
and if it does help, great. So you know, I want to leave it at that.
Yep.
Sa interview na ito sa tingin ko ay magandang pangitain na rin na mismong si Boss Al ang nag-text kay Coach Tab. Pero mga LoDEE, sino kayang Boss Al yun? Si Boss Al Pandillo o si Boss Al Francis Chua? Pero kidding aside, maganda naman ang mga nangyari na ito sa Gilas Pilipinas. Ipagdasal na lang natin na this time ay maging maganda ang mga susunod na desisyon ng SBP at ni Coach Chot Reyes. Suporta lamang tayo sa Gilas Pilipinas. Thank you for watching. Kung nagustuhan mo ang video na ito ay mag-subscribe ka na sa ating channel. Paki-follow na rin ang ating Facebook page Utak Pilipinas. Again, this is D Sports TV. Paalam.